"He who owns this stone shall rule the world, but may never know peace." This wasn't a line from a fantasy novel. It was the actual belief surrounding one of history's most famous royal gems, passed from one fallen empire to another. What if a simple gemstone could determine the fate of nations? Royal amulets were physical embodiments of power, legitimacy, and divine favor. Monarchs wore these stones during coronations and battles, invoking supernatural protection their subjects genuinely believed was real. Cloaked in prophecy and bloodshed, these gems carried the fate of kingdoms within their facets. In this video, we dive deep into the legends of royal jewels that served as shields, divine signs, and symbols of unbreakable rule. The Koh-i-Noor, Mountain of Light, Valley of Shadows. The Koh-i-Noor diamond rests in the Tower of London today, a seemingly peaceful 105.6 carat gem behind bulletproof glass. But this stone carries a history soaked in blood and supernatural belief. For centuries, this diamond moved from one fallen empire to another, its possession linked to disaster for those who claimed it. The diamond's earliest documented appearance was in 1628 within the Mughal Empire, when Shah Jahan, the emperor who built the Taj Mahal, placed it in his magnificent peacock throne. This lavish seat of power cost 4 times more than the Taj Mahal itself, with the Koh-i-Noor positioned at the head of a gemstone peacock. But the gem's journey was as tumultuous as it was brilliant, with legends tracing its origins to ancient Indian mines. A disturbing pattern emerged through history. Male rulers who possessed the diamond suffered terrible fates. Nader Shah of Persia, who seized the diamond when he conquered Delhi in 1739, was later assassinated. Various Indian rulers lost their kingdoms after acquiring it. The diamond's name, Mountain of Light in Persian, became a cruel irony, bringing darkness to those who coveted its brilliance. Women, however, seemed immune to this curse. This observation shaped policy when Queen Victoria acquired the diamond in 1849 following Britain's conquest of Punjab. Her advisors, familiar with the stone's reputation, recommended that only female royals should wear it, advice the British monarchy follows to this day. The British public first viewed the diamond at the Great Exhibition of 1851, but many expressed disappointment. Prince Albert ordered it recut from 191 carats to 105.6 carats to increase its brilliance. This transformation attempted to reshape the stone and perhaps its perceived destiny, to break the curse through physical alteration. Today, the Koh-i-Noor's significance extends beyond superstition into diplomatic relations. India, Pakistan, and Afghanistan have all claimed ownership, citing historical connections to their territories. Whether coincidence or myth, the diamond's power to influence decisions across centuries reveals how deeply supernatural beliefs can shape human affairs, even among those who publicly dismiss such notions. The Black Prince's Ruby, a blood-red guardian of battle. The Black Prince's Ruby has graced battlefields across Europe, a blood-red guardian believed to hold the power of life and death. This magnificent 170-carat stone has adorned the helmets and crowns of English kings as they rode into their most perilous conflicts, allegedly saving royal lives through supernatural intervention. Despite its name, this famous gem isn't actually a ruby at all, but a spinel. This scientific distinction meant nothing to medieval warriors who prized its deep crimson color as a symbol of courage and divine protection. The stone's vibrant red hue, resembling blood, naturally associated it with life force and strength in battle, making it the perfect talisman for kings facing mortal danger. The stone's journey to England began in 1367, when Pedro the Cruel of Castile presented it to Edward of Woodstock, known as the Black Prince, as payment for military assistance against rebels. This transaction transferred both a valuable gem and its perceived protective powers to the English royal line. These powers were dramatically tested during the Battle of Agincourt in 1415. King Henry V wore the ruby prominently on his helmet, as he led his outnumbered forces against the French. According to battle accounts, Henry survived a direct blow from a French axe that split his helmet, while the stone remained intact. Amid the clash of steel and cries of dying men, the ruby seemed to glow with internal fire, like a beacon in a storm of violence. This phenomenon, which modern gemologists would attribute to spinel's natural optical properties, convinced soldiers that divine protection surrounded their king, kindling hope among ranks facing overwhelming odds. Each battle it survived, the gem's reputation grew. English kings specifically chose to wear it into their most dangerous confrontations, believing it would shield them from harm. The Black Prince's ruby now sits at the front of the imperial state crown in the Tower of London, placed there by Queen Victoria in 1838. Even after being drilled and modified to fit various royal adornments, it represents the fascinating intersection where material wealth meets supernatural belief, directly influencing how kings approached battle and when they felt confident facing death. The Alfred Jewel, a king's wisdom made manifest. In 1693, a Somerset farmer's plough struck something unusual in his field. What emerged from the soil wasn't a gem of impressive size, but a small teardrop-shaped object that would prove to be one of the most significant discoveries in Anglo-Saxon history. The Alfred Jewel, as it came to be known, connects us directly to King Alfred the Great, the 9th century monarch who defended England against Viking invaders and laid the foundations for the nation we know today. The jewel itself measures just under 2.5 inches long, crafted with gold, rock crystal, and enamel. Its edges bear the inscription, A Alfred mek het gewerken. Alfred ordered me to be made. This declaration transforms a beautiful artifact into a royal treasure with an unmistakable link to the king himself. The Alfred Jewel served as an aestel, a pointer for following text when reading manuscripts. This practical tool embodied Alfred's commitment to promoting literacy throughout his kingdom. After repelling the Viking threat, Alfred initiated an ambitious program translating religious and philosophical texts from Latin into Anglo-Saxon, making knowledge accessible to his people. The jewel became like a tiny beacon of enlightenment during dark times. At its center, an enigmatic figure portrayed in enamel under crystal holds two floral scepters. Scholars have interpreted this figure as Christ, a personification of sight, or Alfred himself, each suggesting different symbolic meanings about wisdom, vision in reading, or royal authority in spreading knowledge. The jewel's discovery near Athelney adds poignant significance. This area served as Alfred's refuge during the darkest period of Viking invasions, before his triumphant victory at the Battle of Edington in 878. The dragon-headed socket at its base incorporates protective symbolism, representing both wisdom and vigilant guardianship in Anglo-Saxon culture. The Alfred Jewel represents royal power through knowledge, a physical tool that helped spread literacy throughout a kingdom emerging from invasion's shadow. Today, it remains one of our most tangible connections to Alfred the Great, the monarch often called the Father of England. Queen Anne's touchpiece, the royal healing touch. In the early 18th century, a remarkable medical treatment existed that no physician could provide. Thousands of sick subjects lined up at court, not seeking a doctor's expertise, but waiting for the touch of Queen Anne herself. They suffered from scrofula, a painful swelling of lymph nodes caused by tuberculosis, commonly known as the King's Evil. According to long-standing belief, only the touch of an anointed monarch could cure this affliction. Queen Anne's touchpieces were small gold medallions given during the healing ceremony. The ritual began with the monarch laying hands on the diseased area while reciting prayers. Afterward, sufferers received a touchpiece strung on a ribbon to wear around the neck. One account tells of young Thomas Clifford, who had endured scrofula for 3 years. After Queen Anne touched his neck and placed the medallion over him, his family reported his swellings diminished within weeks. For Thomas, like many others, the touchpiece became a treasured possession that represented both healing and royal blessing. The medallions featured imagery that reinforced their power. On one side, St. Michael stood as a guardian, his sword raised against a writhing dragon, a visual promise that evil and disease would be vanquished. The reverse depicted the sovereign of the seas worship with Soli Deo Gloria, glory to God alone, connecting royal authority directly to divine power. These touch pieces transformed from ceremonial objects into protective amulets as patients wore them continuously after the royal encounter, believing they channeled ongoing healing. What makes Anne's dedication remarkable was her own physical condition. Despite severe gout that made standing painful, between 1712 and 1714, she touched approximately 200 people. Her commitment demonstrated how crucial this ritual was for maintaining divine royal authority. When Queen Anne died in 1714, official touching ceremonies in Britain ended. However, exiled Stuart pretenders continued issuing touch pieces from the continent to demonstrate their legitimate claim to the throne, understanding that the ability to heal had become inseparable from true monarchy itself. The Hope Diamond, when royal treasure becomes royal curse. The Hope Diamond's brilliant blue surface captivates millions at the Smithsonian Institution today. But behind its mesmerizing color lies a trail of misfortune that spans continents and centuries. This 45.52 carat gem once adorned French kings before allegedly bringing destruction to all who possessed it. The diamond's documented history begins in 1668, when French merchant Jean-Baptiste Tavernier sold a 112 3/16 carat rough blue diamond to King Louis XIV. Tavernier had acquired it from the Koor mine in Golconda, India, describing it as a beautiful violet stone. Louis XIV had court jeweler Sieur Pitot recut it in 1673 to 67 1/8 carats, enhancing its brilliance for royal display. But why does this mesmerizing stone seem to attract calamity wherever it goes? While Louis XIV and XV died naturally, Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette faced the guillotine's blade during the French Revolution. Shortly after the diamond vanished during a week-long treasury looting in 1792. Their violent deaths marked the beginning of the stone's sinister reputation. When the diamond emerged in London years later, recut to its current size, it left devastation in its wake. Subsequent owners suffered financial ruin, madness, and tragic deaths. The gem acquired its present name from London banker Henry Philip Hope, whose family also encountered misfortune after possessing it. The Hope Diamond's haunting blue color comes from trace boron in its crystal structure, though folklore suggests a darker origin, a curse placed after its theft from a Hindu deity's statue. Its unusual red phosphorescence after ultraviolet exposure only deepens its supernatural aura. American socialite Evelyn Walsh McLean defiantly purchased the diamond in 1911, treating it as a good luck charm, letting her dog wear it and using it for hide-and-seek games. Yet heartbreak found her when her son died in a car crash, her daughter from drugs, and her husband was committed to an asylum. Unlike royal amulets believed to bestow divine favor, the Hope Diamond represents its dark counterpart, a warning that objects can channel divine retribution to those who possess them wrongfully, suggesting the same supernatural forces that legitimize monarchy can punish those who abuse power. The Stewart Sapphire, a stone of exile and return. The Stewart Sapphire has witnessed centuries of British royal turmoil, a 104-carat blue stone that followed a dynasty through revolution, exile, and eventual return. This oval gem carries the weight of royal legitimacy in its deep blue depths. The sapphire likely belonged to Charles I before his execution in 1649, when Parliament abolished the monarchy and dispersed the royal collection. When his son Charles II regained the throne in 1660, the sapphire returned to royal hands, embodying Stuart resilience and their divine right to rule. The gem's most dramatic chapter began in 1688 during the Glorious Revolution. As King James II fled to France, he took the sapphire with him, transforming it from a symbol of active power into a talisman of lost authority and the promise of restoration. Like a steadfast companion, the blue stone wandered with the exiled Stewart court across Europe. Moving between France, Italy, and other Catholic nations seeking support, the sapphire became a rallying point for Jacobite supporters who viewed it as the embodiment of true royal lineage. As Stewart fortunes faded with each failed uprising, the sapphire's journey mirrored their declining hopes. It passed through the Jacobite line until an Italian dealer named Angioli Bonelli acquired it for George IV, bringing it back to Britain under the very Hanoverian dynasty that had replaced the Stuarts. This represented an ironic homecoming, returning to royal ownership through purchase rather than restoration. The Stewart sapphire's significance remained primarily symbolic, representing continuity of royal authority through political upheaval and dynastic change, a physical link to the past, regardless of which family claimed the throne. Queen Victoria acknowledged this symbolism by placing the sapphire prominently on the front of her imperial state crown in 1838, effectively reconciling competing royal claims within a single ornament. Today, the sapphire sits at the back of the imperial state crown, moved to accommodate the Cullinan II diamond. This relocation echoes the gem's history. Royal power, like the jewel itself, shifts position through the complex interplay of politics, symbolism, and perceived divine favor. St. Edwards Sapphire, the oldest royal gem. At the summit of the imperial state crown sits a small octagonal sapphire that has witnessed more royal history than any other gem in Britain. St. Edward's Sapphire traces its origins to before the Norman conquest, making it older than the modern monarchy itself. According to tradition, this blue stone originally belonged to Edward the Confessor, the last Anglo-Saxon king who ruled England from 1042 to 1066. Edward wore it set in his coronation ring, marking it as a symbol of royal authority. The gem transformed from valuable to sacred through a legendary encounter during Edward's reign. Medieval chronicles tell how King Edward, known for his piety, encountered a beggar while walking near Westminster. Having no money with him, Edward gave the poor man his sapphire ring. Years later, 2 English pilgrims in the Holy Land met an old man who revealed himself as Saint John the Evangelist. He returned the ring and asked the pilgrims to deliver it back to Edward, thanking the king for his charity. This divine exchange transformed the sapphire into a relic blessed by heavenly touch, forever marked by Edward's compassion. After Edward's death in 1066, the sapphire was buried with him in Westminster Abbey. When Edward was canonized in 1161, his tomb was opened for reinterment. The sapphire was removed from his ring while the band itself was preserved as a holy relic. The stone vanished from historical records during the tumultuous medieval period. Wars, plagues, and dynastic struggles obscured its path. Yet this timeless witness to England's past eventually resurfaced in royal inventories, as though protected by some mysterious quality that preserved it when other treasures perished. When Charles II commissioned a new St. Edward's crown after the monarchy's restoration in 1661, the ancient sapphire was incorporated into it, connecting the restored monarchy to the pre-Norman royal line. Today, St. Edward's Sapphire surmounts the cross atop King Charles III's imperial state crown. Its significance stems from historical continuity, a physical link to a sainted king that transforms each coronation into a reenactment of Edward's own divine anointment. Conclusion. These 7 royal amulets show us how supernatural beliefs influenced real political decisions throughout history. Kings chose specific gems for battle. Queens followed strict protocols about who could wear certain diamonds. And diplomats still argue over these stones today. Even in our scientific age, these objects fascinate us because they connect us to history in a tangible way. We can see the same sapphire that touched Edward the Confessor's hand 1,000 years ago. Their power transforms monarchy and divine right into physical heirlooms passed through generations. What other legends await in royal treasuries? Subscribe for more jewelry stories that blur the line between myth and history.